Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts, I can make a difference to your life. I want to thank you for your continued support to Effortless Attraction podcast. I want to thank my paid subscribers. You make a difference to my work and to my life. And I hope through these podcasts, my mission is to make a difference to the lives of others. But with your help and subscription of £1.99 per month, you really do help support this work. If you'd like to become a paid subscriber, you will find the link in the main profile. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, whoever can get to join in another Effortless Attraction podcast. Well, today I am joined by Thomas Wyatt, W-Y-A-T-T. Now, this young man, he just came to my attention. And as I always say, there's no coincidences. And it's that gut feeling that, I must reach out to this person because there's something that drew me to him. And you'll find out why now in a wee moment. So Thomas is from Belfast. He's an international angelologist. I never heard tell of one until just recently. International medium. He's a best-selling author, mindfulness coach, and mentor. Thomas has dedicated almost a decade of his life in the helping and the healing journeys of others, known to the public as the Angel's Advocate. And I'm going to get on to the Angel's Advocate book in a moment, Thomas, but you are most welcome today.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. That was a very, very beautiful introduction. I'm going to keep that.
Thank you. Copyright that one.
Yes.
Definitely. Oh, it's a delight. And there's so many things to get talking to you today about. But I always feel that we all have this wee intuition, this connection, there's something that draws you to someone else. Like, I must get talking to that person. And I'm delighted that through technology that we've been able to connect here, Thomas, and perhaps today, the underlying ethos in all of my podcasts is to make a difference to the lives of others. And I know for sure, whatever you would bring today will definitely make a difference to the lives of people. I'm going to start off with the Angel's Advocate.
Yes.
Now, you're known from the public. There's the Angel's Advocate. How did that come about?
Well, it came about actually a few years ago when I was doing some training, and social media was a very heavy place. It was a very oversaturated place. And I found it an amazing platform to connect with people around the world. I thought, well, why can't I, from this little place in Belfast, connect with all these amazing people? And we were getting a lot of backlash, I suppose, people not really understanding what I did, what it was about. And, I thought, look, I'm not doing the devil's work, guys. I'm trying to do, good work here. And it kind of was a play on words. So it's the opposite of the devil's advocate. It's the angel's advocate. So it started with a course and then it turned into the book. But it was actually through a conversation with one of the editors. And they said, I think it's the perfect title because you're trying to advocate not just for yourself, but for people who maybe are like you, people who maybe have gone through loss or gone through suffering, either that be emotional, whether that be chronic or physical ailments. You're trying to advocate in the best way that you can. So it just kind of stuck. And now it's taken on a little bit of a life of its own. You could be called worse things, I suppose. Angelic isn't a bad term to kind of go with, but it kind of started there. But it did begin a few years before the book, just unintentionally.
Mm-hmm. And as I was listening to your words, in Ireland, it's the devil's advocate,
Yeah.
Everywhere else, the devil's advocate.
Yes, I know.
But the angel isn't it, as I spoke about there one day, the law of polarity, the opposite, where we see dark and light, there must be one for the other to exist. And but as you say, this is what the feeling and the calling was for you, to do this, what perhaps people see as a light worker, to help
Yeah.
people on a healing journey, perhaps where they have come through loss.
Yeah. And for me, it's because I've walked those shoes. I know what that impact on the heart is like to lose people. I know what it's like to be so consumed by grief that there doesn't seem to be a way out. So if I can be a small vessel, small messenger, and shine a little bit of light or a little bit of hope and compassion, well, then to me, that's a good thing. To me, that can only be a good thing.
Yeah. And you said, again, on words there, that I can be the vessel. Allow me to be the vessel. It's something that I try to say each day, that it's that we are the vessels, whatever our gifts are. And so many people go through our life, we feel that we're living, and people strive or look for their purpose. What's my purpose? What's my mission? And we're only the channel, we're only the vessel for whatever it is to bring about change. Can I just read this out about your book, The Angel's Advocate, which is available? I'm going to shout it out. It's on Amazon. I'm quite sure it's in bookstores all over the place, Thomas,
Yeah,
because I
that's
heard you
right.
talk about it. And I'm going to get you to talk about that in a moment. But I saw this and I loved it, and I wrote it down. Many people view the death of a loved one as the end. They believe that life stops at that moment. Through this book, I hope you will see this is not true. Mediumship celebrates the life and memories of loved ones past and offers the opportunity to have your questions answered. Lovely. I felt such a peace reading that, because I have in the past too tried to understand that, to come out of the pain, or when I went in search, it was at that time my mother that, is she proud of me? Because I was making decisions and choices in my life that I know if she was in human form, perhaps would judge on that. But it was so refreshing going to someone one time that knew nothing about me, that mentioned my mother's name and said what I had been searching for, and I never even said what it was. Your mother's proud of you.
Yeah.
It lifts such a weight, Thomas.
It's the validation. You think, I suppose in this modern world, it's very difficult maybe for a medium to work, because if there's something that is already out there, then it's probably been seen, it's probably been said. So you're looking for that deeper connection, which lies within a memory. It lies within something that only you and your person know. So it's important for me to go beneath the covers almost and be really nosy and just kind of be like, well, what can I say? What can I pick up? And it may be completely random or irrelevant to me. And I might think, God, you've really lost it this time, Thomas. Your marbles are just rolling all over the place. But for that person in front of me, or that person in the theater, that has the biggest significance, So for me, it's coming from a place of hope. And I believe if you have hope, you're halfway there. But I would agree with you too, when you're searching, when you're trying to figure out what it is that you are here for, what is your purpose, that's a very heavy burden. And sometimes we get consumed by the factors of life to say, well, I must do this and I must do that because that's what life has taught me to do. And I always say to people, look, trust your gut. Your head and your heart will lead you astray, but trust your gut. That's your intuition. That's where you're being pulled. That's where you're being brought. And if you're being navigated or pulled towards maybe someone like me or someone that does this work, give it a go. You don't really have anything to lose. The only thing I would say to people is, by not doing it, you're potentially blocking a blessing of something really amazing that could really uplift you and be paramount to your healing. That's how I kind of view all of the things that I do, but definitely sort of the spiritual side of stuff.
I'm picking up on these words now. When you said your head and heart will lead you astray, whereas I will always trust my heart.
Yeah.
My head will tell me many a different thing, and I'll say, I'm going with this one. But yes, the gut is more of the feeling.
Yeah. So the gut is the intuition, the clairsentience, if you like. And the reason I use that sort of analogy of your head and your heart, because some people can find themselves in predicaments where their heart has led them astray and their head is not giving them any answers, and they might need to use their intuition or their gut instinct. So I always use that little analogy. But yeah, so just that pull, that it's a gravitational pull, something like you were speaking about. I just knew that I had to speak to this guy. I just knew that we had to connect. There was something greater than you and I that was destined for us to cross paths, that was destined for us to connect on some way, shape, or form, to create something that, my goodness, I would hope and pray that's worth listening to, that's going to perk up someone's mind and someone's ears and plant a little seed of hope. So that's where I believe that the intuition and the gut instinct kind of comes from, and we all have it.
Yeah. It's a brave step for people when they talk about spirituality, because sometimes people confuse it with religion, to step out and say, here I am, this is what I do, how may I serve? As you said, you came up against a lot of backlash from people because you're not doing the work of God, you're doing da 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 da.
Yeah.
And at that stage, it's very easy for someone to say, I can't deal with this, I can't go through this. Apologies that I can't go through all of this. And that's part of the journey. Now, I want to ask you a question, Thomas, that if someone is feeling that calling, that there's, I'll raise that question. When did you know that this was the course for you, or what was coming in?
It actually, my life plan was not to do this. My life plan was not to work mediumistically or work with angels or do any of the things that I do today. I started out in healthcare. I was training to be a nurse. My hobbies were music and singing. So it was very far away land to what I do. But I became really ill, and I wasn't able to continue. I was in a really bad car accident, and it completely destroyed not only my physical body, but it destroyed my mind. I was consumed by mourning my old life, and I was so young. I was only 21, so it just it felt like a very unfair time, and I was searching and searching for something. I didn't know what I was searching for, if I'm being honest, but I just knew that this wasn't what I wanted. I didn't want to remain in this bed, and I didn't want to remain in this place of displacement and unhappiness. And it took a while. It wasn't something that just I magically woke up one day and my life was full of rainbows and unicorns. It was a really, really long haul. But it started through a search of healing. A friend of mine had spoke about healing, and I thought, right, well, I'll go along and see what this is all about. I mean, it can't be any worse than the 50 million tablets that the doctors are going to prescribe, or another exercise that the physio is going to make me do. Maybe this is worth a go. And I went on the wrong night. So I ended up going to a spiritual church, and I thought that I was lost. But as the service went on and as they started working, something inside me just ignited, and I watched these beautiful, amazing mediums get on the platform and deliver talks of inspiration and dedicate healings to people. And then they started the mediumship, and I thought, whoa. I was looking around looking for like an earpiece. I was looking for the runner feeding them the information. And I think healthy skepticism isn't a bad thing. But as I was sitting there, before the medium would say things, I was muttering these little things. I was going, yes. And the wee man with the red coat. And then the medium would get up and say, I have a man here and he's showing me this red Macaton coat. And I would think, oh, this place is definitely rigged. You know, there's something going on. So I was able to tune in without realizing, because I was in a natural sort of state. I wasn't trying, if that makes sense. I wasn't attempting to connect. It was just something that very, very slight, very, very small little thoughts trickled in. And it ignited a flame within me. But it is something that actually runs in my family. So I would be third generation. So it's from my mum's side of the family. And it was maybe through doing a little bit of past life work and going back to my childhood and dealing with a few things, that all these memories came back. So it really, to my knowledge and my scope of memory, which varies from day to day, I'm sure we all get days like that. My grandmother would have sat me on her knee and she would say, read the room. But I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what she was talking about. And, you know, after talking with family and stuff, she did sort of have that ability, and she would do like tea leaves. But I mean, back in the day when it was like £2, when that was a lot of money, and she would read people's tea leaves, and she just had a very natural ability. So it's something that kind of was always there. I always had sort of feelings or intuitions, but I had no concept of what it was until I found myself a little bit lost and wandering this earth and trying to find something for me. And then it just escalated from there. So it began at me going to sea, which I did become a little bit obsessive, I have to be honest, because I thought, that's amazing. Oh, where's the next person? What can you do? And I wanted to book readings and I wanted to get messages. And it became a little bit of, yeah, an obsession, if I'm being honest, because it threw me. I thought, well, I'm going to do that. I want to hear a message. I want something. So it became I want instead of I need. And once I registered that, it became a little bit clearer, but it started by accident, truthfully. It was just the right time. And I believe now, looking back, that maybe spirit took me out of my previous life when I was doing the 14-hour night shifts and slugging along, you know, having a cup of coffee, you know, as a meal, really, really grafting, trying to further my education. That car accident to me was soul destroying, but what has come out of it has saved me in so many ways, because it's brought me back to life. You know, I went from a bed to a chair to a frame to a stick. So the progression of the soul that I've had on this earth plane so far has been really good. And I think it's thanks to my commitment to wanting to know more. Where does this come from? What does this mean?
Well, that's fascinating. And that's why I don't like to know too much before these podcasts. And when you say soul destroying, it's nearly like soul restoration. Mm-hmm. Isn't it amazing what we see in life as tragedies and what they are, or as painful events, as horrible events, and I feel I'm lost. And when we are able to, or remove ourselves to be the witness, once you're through it all, and witness in on that and think, you were just on your journey. Yeah. And we had to take you to these things. And when you mentioned that going in, it was the wrong night. It's ironic, really. It was the right night. You were to be there at that time. Because if we believe that everything is in divine order, and we might not know at that time why, it's all in divine order. Yeah. To bring us to where we're meant to be bringing, for the good of our own soul and for everyone else's. Thomas, love this. So is that what an angelologist is? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so my nosiness of spirit and mediumship began just by accident or on purpose in the great design of things. But stumbling along and sort of trying to understand what it all meant. And there, like you said, there's a variation here. So there is spiritualism as a recognized religion. So there's people that practice and they're spiritualists and they attend their service and they have their ministers and things like that. Then there's a spiritual practice of life, where is more of a mindset and a conscious state for me personally. That's my view. And I was trying to navigate where I really fitted. Did I really align with one sort of faith? No, because, you know, I was raised as a Catholic, but I really also love the Buddhist principles, but I also really loved the healing intentions of spiritualism. So I was a little bit of a jukebox of religion. So it didn't really align with me to become a spiritualist. And doing some sort of research and digging, I stumbled across angels, and it was like a rabbit hole. And I didn't realize, but I never looked back. So I was fascinated by these stories and these beings, if you like, that we could just call upon or have a prayer in private moment, or certain symbols that could just create an angelic energy. And what I found while being nosy, this is my key to my success, I think, just being nosy and looking at everything, was reading different scriptures and different sort of text, the angels were included in some way, shape or form. Now, over the years, these things have been translated and there's thinner and thinner approaches. But it started there, and then I went on to do angelology. So angelology, and someone who is an angelologist, it's a very fancy word, but it just means someone who studied angels, who has that alignment with the angelic realm. And I suppose my work would be deemed a little bit more like angelic mediumship, because I would work with angel cards and crystals and things of that nature. So that's all it means. But it was something that really fascinated me, that you could call upon, there's 7 main archangels, there's 14, there's 16 if you really want to get into it. That's a whole other podcast. But, that you could call upon, I don't know, Sandalphon, and he would be the healer of this one. You could call upon Gabriel, and little small things that just trigger something within me. I remember reading one time, and I realized I was reading something, and I was like, that's not English. I'm dyslexic. I thought, am I reading this? And I hadn't translated it quite yet. I thought, no. It was Latin. So it was opening doors and avenues for me that I didn't realize. So it just inspired me. So that's where the term comes from. But to simplify it, it's just someone that works with angels. People like, let me think of it, Kyle Gray, people like, there's a lovely lady called Angel Ann. So there's lots of different people that would have done that study, even if they don't use that title. It just seems like a little bit more of a universal approach, because what I've learned is what people see and hear, that's where they finish. But if you leave something with a question mark, then it invites people to come in and maybe have a little look around. So when they hear the term angelologist, they go, what on earth does that mean? I want to know what this is about. But when they hear the term medium, they'll go, no, listen, that's a load of old Marleys, and there's a load of witchcraft and devil worshipping. So it can maybe put up a few barriers, because I feel so connected to those kind of energies. It's something that really suits me.
Yeah. You touched on something there. You're saying about scripture, and about the thing that gets thinned out. And strange enough, when I think of the passing of someone, and my belief is anyway, because when we leave the body, the form, it takes a wee while for the soul or the spirit to be regenerated again. I always think, before I go knocking, before going hello. And there's a part, I think it's the Lord is my shepherd, this wee bit. And this is how I see the transitioning, that fresh and green are the pastures where he gives me repose. Near restful waters, he leads me to revive my drooping spirit. So I always think they're hanging out around the restful waters now. I need to give them a wee bit of time to the totally transition to their, like our phone on 100% charge, before I go calling upon for my wee needs and wants. And are you all right?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, Thomas. My father had passed away a couple of years ago. And I actually, would you believe, something came about afterwards, and I got angry. I was angry, not at him dying, but at a happening that took place. And I said one night, Dad, I really need to have, we need to have a chat. Now, if you can, please, can you come to me in my dreams tonight? And yes, he did. He came there. And so without words speaking, what I was feeling about something that had taken place, my anger. And within a flash, I was brought back to a good few years ago, where I went to speak to him about something, and he asked me a question, and I didn't exactly tell the truth. And what the resolution to the whole thing was, sometimes we all tell little lies in order to protect each other. And just like that, my anger was dissolved.
Yeah.
I said, thanks.
Wow. It's like the truth, sir, isn't it? And sometimes we can get fixated on, now not everyone, but none of us are perfect. We can get fixated on what has happened to us, what life has done to us. And like you're saying, once we resolve that and remove that and cleanse ourselves from it, we free up a little bit more time to focus on doing something a little bit more positive, something a little bit more productive. When we get hung up, or we feel a little bit stuck through circumstance, through loss, through grief, we're doing ourselves a disservice. I always say to people, look, listen, you may feel stuck, but remind yourself of this. you're stuck with your head, you're not stuck with your feet. Your feet are made for moving. So keep on walking. Remind yourself that you'll go anywhere that's forward. And it's about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. I always say, even now, if I start to get too comfortable, it's time to change. It's time to get something. I know that I've came to the end of that cycle, because I can't live on repeat. I can't live on catch up and redoing the same thing. It would make me feel so numb to life.
Yeah, I get it.
So
I get
yeah,
it.
so I just, no, definitely not. Always about exploring new options and opportunities.
Yeah. As you say, nosy, but curiosity.
Curiosity.
Bit of curiosity. I do like that too. And I'm curious about people's lives. And I
Yeah.
love asking, or connecting. I see us all on this wonderful journey. Sometimes here's how I see, I suppose, life. Do you know Men in Black, where they're all the wee aliens and they look like human beings, but underneath it. And sometimes this happens when I sit back and observe or just witness. I think, now I wonder what his journey's like. I wonder what her journey's like. I wonder what they're doing here, and
Yeah.
and every so often I feel that. And then the rest of the time it's just, oh, there's a human. Oh, she done, he done.
Yeah. I'm quite a fan of people watching. If I'm in an airport or we're on the ferry going somewhere, and my other half has to tell me off because I go into a bit of a daze, but I can nearly just look at them and go, I wonder how their day was, and I wonder what's brought them to this point. And you can see a wee man in the corner on his own. He's probably working 14 days straight, hasn't seen his family, and you dive into that person's life without knowing them or knowing their story. But it's the curiosity of what makes us tick and what makes us go, and it's life fascinates me. And I think, one thing that I've learned, especially recently as well, just a sort of reminder and a refresher, life is short, life is precious. And if you cannot see that, I cannot teach that. That's something that has to come from you. And we're all here having a little go at this rodeo of life. So make it happen, make it count. That's what I would say.
And we're all full of knowledge and wisdom and quotes. I think it's then taking action on that. And perhaps, as you say, what we wouldn't wish on people is illness, is tragedy, in order for that wakening up to happen. Imagine if we could actually do that without those things happening. But sometimes that has to happen in order for, right, what was I worried about? Can I ask a question? When you're out and about and you bump into people, are there messages that come to you, that when you see someone that you're, oh, I'm not, or do you say to the angel, switch off, not now?
Maybe like in the really early days when I thought, oh God, I really have to prove this is real. I really have to prove that this, and I would read a postman. I would be reading people at the shop counters. But you learn a little bit of boundary and a little bit of discipline. Now, that does not stop people coming up to me. That does not stop people. I could be in my scruffs and my Uggs trying to run to the local shop to get some kitchen roll or something for dinner. And that will not stop people coming up to me, because there is, and I don't mind saying this because it is my truth, there is a part of this world, or a part of the world that I work in, that disassociates people's view, and you lose a little bit of your humanity because they see you as that connection to their person, even if they've never met you. But they are so hopeful that you're that one link that can bridge this life to the next for them. So your humanity sort of goes out the window, and you become the medium, and you become the middleman, which is fair enough, or middle woman. But not really. It would have to be a very extreme circumstance. I'm very disciplined these days, but I do recall sort of constantly feeling and sensing and seeing spirit, and it was just too much. You would never have a normal life. So now I treat it very much as when I'm in work mode, I'm here, I will work for spirit till the sweat beats down my, my eyebrows. But when I'm not in work mode, I have to separate, because I suppose for me, it's very different. I have a few ailments, let's say, as do many people. So I have to sort of save my energy a little bit more. So you'll never catch me doing, you know, I don't know, 50 shows night after night. I think that would be unproductive, to be honest. And you wouldn't catch me doing the same place or the same city week in, week out, or same, every month. I think there needs to be a grace period, and also a amount of time for things to kind of settle. But no, I don't really pick up stuff. I think I'm too stubborn. I think if I'm supposed to see, hear, sense something, I will, absolutely. Now we've had, where I've been just plodding along doing things and spirit have come to me. And I think, oh gosh, I don't know who you're with, because there's a list of clients booked in, or we're over in this area, doing a show. I don't know who you belong to, but if you stay with me, I'll try and find who you belong to. So sometimes, that can happen, but not overly, like in the supermarket or, when you're out and about.
That's good. Spirit has a bit of manners that wait their turn.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think you need that little boundary, because the sensationalism around mediumship, I think maybe through television and stuff, has really changed people's perception. And some people do think that I'm just sitting constantly and I have their mother, their father, their grandmother, their Uncle John from Jamaica. I don't. I really, really don't. So they think that my life's Ghostbusters, and they can ring me and my mirrors fell off the wall.
Surely.
And I think, well, you might just want to check the screw on that. It's not that someone's come and possessing your house. So, but it's good, because then you get to talk to people, you get to explain, and you see the little aha moment happen in their face, and most people are really grateful for the information. Yeah. Other people go, well, thanks a lot, and they go on about their business.
Yeah. And you never know when that information might crop up and think, that served a purpose. So I'm going to get wrapped up here. Listen, I could talk all day to you, Thomas. If people, your book, The Angel's Advocate, and because this was such a short notice, I love to get books and read up and know a wee bit more. So this is on my to-get list. For people, will it enlighten us of what spirit world is like? What is there after here?
The purpose of the book was to tell the truth. My life, my own personal life, has not been a parade of unicorns and rainbows. It has been real life, as it has been for most people. So it's warts and all, in the best possible way. And it's my journey through mediumship to find the spirit within me. So that's the title of the book, The Angel's Advocate, the Spirit Within. But the spirit within someone could be to be an amazing parent, could be to be an amazing partner, or to be an amazing medium. So it's a little bit of everything. It's biographical in the context of me, my childhood, my personal losses. By the time I was 15, both my parents had passed, and that does something to someone. So it's the truth. And then we have collected some of the stories over the years, from different families that I've worked with, and they're in the book. And it's very much, it's not just my book, it's their book, but it's nice to hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So it's not just me boasting, going, I think I'm great, this is brilliant, come along and have a reading with me. It's individuals who by chance found themselves either in a room, in a theatre, or dragged along to something and had some of the most evidential connections. So the purpose of the book is that life goes on, even when it seems like the end has come. It gives a little light of hope.
Lovely. You also do public shows as well. Do you want to tell us about things? Now, I know when we record this, so I have to give the year and the date, because it's quite an, imagine in, let's say, 2033. Wow, they recorded that in 2023. That's so long ago. So we're now at July 2023. What have you coming up, Thomas?
So we've just started a brand new mentorship that actually just began yesterday. So that's exciting. That's where people come along and they advance their mediumship training. And we've guys from all over the world. They're from Canada, from Australia. So the time difference is always fun, trying to get everybody in the same space.
Do people have to be, though, if they were starting out on mediumship, this course is already for people that are practicing it.
Yeah, so this is the advanced course. There's a beginner's course beginning in August. I believe it's the second week in August.
Okay.
What else is happening in July? I'll be in Belfast. I'll be coming home. So I'll be at the Balmoral Hotel on the 27th of July. I don't know when this is going out, but it is nearly sold out. If anyone wants to come along, they're very welcome to do so. The big night this year is the Waterfront Hall. It's something I've been working for, it feels like forever. So at the end of the year, I'm going to be in the Waterfront Hall, having an amazing evening of mediumship. And it feels like a homecoming, because this is where everything started. I've got to work in lots of different places across the world, but it's nice to kind of be celebrated and have a unified approach from everybody here. And to just say the words, the Waterfront Hall, I've been to see so many people there. And, you know, our dressing room is across the hall from Alfie Bowie. So it's just a bit surreal. So it's all happening this year. Yeah, but anyone who wants to kind of keep up to date, they can just check out my website. So it's just thomaswyattmedium.co.uk.
He's also on Facebook and Instagram. And I don't be on TikTok, but I'm sure you're there too.
Yeah, I'm everywhere but nowhere.
I saw you because it was a live you were doing at that time. But you also do one-to-ones. You're doing mindfulness. You're coach and mentor as well, Thomas.
Yeah, I do it all. I actually truthfully only read part-time. So the readings, the one-to-one readings are very much part-time, because the rest of my work is filled with teaching, doing awareness classes and one-to-one coaching of mindfulness and empowerment. And then we get to travel when we do different events and stuff. So as much as I love the readings, we've had to cut them down to sort of part-time. Yeah.
Great. Fabulous. Well, I think that might be it.
Thank you very much, friend.
That has been very, very enjoyable. I probably want to leave here. I think, oh, I wish I had it. But you know what? I've asked what I've needed to ask, or we've allowed the flow.
Yeah.
And I just hope that through listening to this, you know, if you have had someone that has passed, if you're going through that not so pleasant time, which is, it's not nice. It's like, I always think in grief, it's like someone put their hand into your chest and took your heart out without permission.
Yeah.
And it's almost like part of our life has ended when the physical form is no longer here. And it's that hope, the looking out for a sign, hoping to see a feather, waiting on a robin, to know that they're there. But I think, can you leave us with this, Thomas, that when we shift from the grief, which are heavier vibrations and feelings that we must all come through too, and we are open to it, we will always feel, we will hear, there'll be something that will come in to let you know, I'm all right. I'm looking after you now.
Absolutely. You know, I believe that when you allow yourself time to feel in order to heal, then it opens up so many more possibilities to connect with our own people. And this is maybe not a very strong business thing to say, but I hope that there becomes a time where people won't need mediums, that they'll be able to sort of sense and connect with their people themselves. And that's my goal. If there's enough people doing it and enough awareness, well, then you could sit back and sort of connect with your people in your heart and in your mind, and just ask them for a quick hi and hello, ask them for a little sign, a symbol. May it be a bird, you know, a feather, may it even be a song. Sometimes it comes in a very subtle approach, like a smell. The other day, I just smelt my grandmother. My grandmother just passed away a few weeks ago. And I just got this and I thought, that's my wee granny, having a wee nosy around my house. I better tidy up. You know, you get wee moments that take you back. But the first thing is deal with your heart, and allow, it's going to sound a bit strange, but allow that anchor to fall. Allow those feelings to hit the pits of your soul and the pits of your heart, because you will come out stronger. You will not understand why this has happened, why we had to say goodbye, why we've had to lose. But turn your pain into your power going forward. That's what I would say.
Amen. I just want to say amen. Always, if we can transform it rather than transmit it. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Thomas. Such powerful words to end our podcast on. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. And again, reach out to Thomas. He is doing such goodness, and he is the Angel's Advocate.